Welcome everybody, thank you for tuning in to our 2022 eMTB Shootout. Today's review will be covering the Norco Sight VLT C1. So the Norco Sight VLT sits in our trail category of the eMTB Shootout, which is bikes with 155 millimeters and less of rear travel. So the Sight has 150 of rear and 160 mil of front travel. Now all of Norco's VLT e-bikes are sold as a complete bike without the battery, so the battery is sold separately. We have opted to run the 720 in our test bikes as we feel they give the best blend for range without too much sacrifice on weight. That gives this bike a price tag of $10,098. It comes spec'd with Fox factory Kashima suspension front and rear. There is a 160 mil 36 fork up front and an Evol Float X2 rear shock. It has a SRAM XO derailleur with a GX shifter, trying to blend a little bit of cost savings and still getting you some good shifting and performance out back. As I said earlier, it has a 720 watt hour battery in our test bike, Shimano EP8 drive unit, and SRAM code RSC brakes. Our size large has a 485 millimeter reach, 634 stack height, 462 millimeter chain stays, 1,292 millimeter wheelbase. It has a 25 mil bottom bracket drop and a 64 degree head tube angle and a 77.7 seat tube angle. My thoughts are it really excels in very rough, chunky, gnarly terrain. I would say definitely excels almost like borderline in the Enduro type category.
The downhillers trail bike.
Yeah, I also feel like because it's so plush and cush and soft that for me at least, it feels, I mean, it is a heavy bike, period, right?
There's no denying that.
Yeah, but it also feels like it takes more effort to get the little side hits or style it or jump it and stuff.
Yeah, it's more just racing.
I feel like it's a little flickable. Like it's not I mean, I don't know. I think compared to like that WFO from last year, similar weight. The weight's not that different. If you take the riding characteristics, I don't know if that's geometry, but definitely the poppy side hits you're working more for.
Yeah. But like just like even like fighting over to like hit that jump onto that wall ride thing that we did up there.
Sure.
Like stuff like that where you want to get in the air and like change directions. Like it's a lot more to maneuver.
But on that last trail,
it was great on that last trail.
Because
but
it's just hauling the mail.
Yeah, it's fast when stuff gets rough. It's EP8, works great. I like the fact that you can choose the battery size that works best for you. We settled on 720, I think, for most of our riding and the weight to range balance.
Would you choose a bigger one if it was your forever bike? No.
I think I'm pretty happy with that 720 size. I think that's a good blend of range and not being crazy heavy.
We tend to run out of ride time before we run out of battery
your
life.
butt starts to hurt quite a bit before that.
Yeah.
Even in full boost mode.
Yeah.
I mean, we still got.
And we're always in boost.
We still have probably 3.5 bars, and we've been out here for I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours.
3 hours total.
Yeah. 1292 wheelbase is long. It's the longest of the other trail bikes in the category. It feels long.
Especially when the trail starts getting tighter.
Yeah.
And some of that like just fall off like.
I think the build kit definitely pushes it more towards that Enduro side with that X2 on the back.
But it has a 36 fork.
Yep. But I don't think it makes a difference. I think that X2 overshadows what I wouldn't say what you're lacking up front, but I mean if you put a 38 on it, I don't think it's going to make the riding any. The 36 isn't holding you back. It's plenty stiff enough.
No. I think I don't know that anything's holding me back on the downhills.
Yeah, no.
I think the only thing that's holding me back, honestly, is how long and heavy the front end feels when I want to play with the bike. And for me, I like to play, and that's why I think compared to some of the other bikes in our shootout, the Norco loses a couple points. I think for someone who wants all-day seated comfort, exploratory riders, maybe people that just live for like self-shuttling back to chunky stuff.
Or
Then
But why not get the range?
Well, why wouldn't you get the range? Yeah.
True.
Or maybe they just want to hit jump lines all day.
But is that the best bike for jump lines?
I mean, I didn't
I don't
mind
think
jumping
so.
it.
I don't think it is.
I haven't hit enough jumps on it to really know yet.
Yeah. I think the Heckler's a way better bike for jump lines, but not nearly as good on the rough, chunky, gnarly downhill stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to give the Norco a point system overall rating, what would you put out of 10? Riding performance,
Yeah.
value, spec aside, riding performance out of 10 as an all-around trail bike, what would you put the Norco Sight?
7.5.
I was gonna say 7 or 7.5 for
Okay.
trail specific.
Okay.
As if I was looking overall, maybe 8.5. Overall, as a bike as a whole, not focused on trail stuff, I'd probably bump it to 8 or 8.5, just
Okay.
because you can get into some gnarlier terrain. But for a trail bike,
Okay.
I think a lighter weight, shorter, more snappy, something that really excels on kind of those meandering trails.
Interesting.
Is where it needs to
okay.
live.
So the versatility of it in going into big bike territory actually is a plus for you.
Yeah, but I think as a rider, I would rather just bump up and get more travel.
Okay.
That's hard. That's where it gets hard.
Sean?
Same as Cole, 7.5, I think. Like it's middle of the pack territory, I think.
Okay.
And then once you
Only because it's confused, not because it's like a bad bike. I don't think it's a bad bike.
No,
by
it's
any
not.
means.
It's not a bad bike. Like if somebody gave it to me, I would have no problem running it.
Yeah.
What would take that bike from a 7.5 to an 8.5 or a 9?
Probably shaving 5-6 pounds out of it.
Okay.
And what? 60 millimeters in the wheelbase? 50 millimeters maybe?
I'd probably go 40. Yeah,
Okay.
have a shorter rear-ended.
I think
I think it has the longest stays
What
too.
was the drawback?
chain stays are 462, and just about everything else is 440, 446, 442.
It's a big drawback.
Yeah.
So I guess if we shaved off 20 mils, it'd probably be.
Yeah. I think I pretty much agree with you. I think as an all-arounder, I probably would put the bike in a solid 7.5. I think it excels near the top of the pack in the rough, chunky
Absolutely.
stuff. But I think the weight and the length for maybe, I guess, all of our style of riding and what we like to do, that drops it down a little bit. And yeah, I think shorter and lighter would be huge wins for that thing. A solid bike, I guess my advice is if someone asked me about buying that bike,
It's a BC bike.
I would say if you're a rider who maybe doesn't want to do the most flicky, play, jumpy kind of riding, you're exploring trails, you want to cover big miles, you want comfort, seated comfort,
absolutely.
but then you also want confidence to just plow stuff smoothly, not feel like that bike is working, but you don't necessarily want, range level of travel. I think it might be a hard bike to beat for that category of rider. If you are that playful, light, lively kind of rider, the length and the weight are going to be the drawbacks, combined with that soft, planted suspension feel. So overall, though, a solid bike, and definitely a lot of fun out here on the rough stuff. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all the rest of the bikes coming up in our eMTB Shootout from 2022. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.